Boris Johnson. Wait, no, my mistake. Thomas Mills.
Konnichiwa. When I was coming up here to IPC, everyone was telling me that I should really do the stand-up. Before I even knew that stand-up was a thing, everyone was telling me, like, oh, it'll be great, it's fantastic, you're amazing, you get lots of laughs, you have a huge cock, you're funny, it's great, right? And I was really confused. But after a while, it started to get to me, you know, I really started to get into my head. And I was like, yeah, no, they're right, they have a point. I'm funny, I make people lots of laugh, people seem to like me, I have a huge cock, I'm single, it's great, right? So it really got to my head. And eventually we went to the stand-up class, and I thought I was going to absolutely murder, right? I came up all cocky and arrogant, swaggering up to the stage, had 10 minutes of pure fucking babble, and it just bombed horribly. And I thought, like, what's gone wrong? Like, what have I done wrong? And I started racking my brain, and I realized the only people that had told me I was funny were the Germans. Now, I don't know if you've ever been told you're funny by a German, but it's a little bit like a cripple telling you you're good at basketball. I appreciate the compliment, but really, like, come on, you know. No, I'm just joking. I love all the Germans here. Well, most of you guys. Anyway. But it's strange, coming here from a very small town in England, you're completely spoiled. You're told that the rest of the world speaks English, and you feel guilty about it, but it's kind of true, right? You travel pretty much anywhere in the world, they'll speak English, so we don't take languages seriously. Well, I say anywhere apart from the IPC canteen, where they only speak Arabic, and the IPC common room, where they only speak Mexican. But no, it's great. I said in England we completely neglect language and culture, and it's a big shame of England. But in the English educational system, French is the language that we're taught, and it's a complete joke. Right? I got through 3 years of French with Je jouais un foot avec mon frère, bonjour, you know, crap like that, right? And eventually, I was in like the top set as well. Like, people thought I was good at that shit. And eventually we had a French day. The school realized that no one was taking French because it was like shit. And they wanted to immerse us into French culture and have a whole day of like what it was like to be French, to try and persuade us to do French. And if you've ever met a French person, that's a terrible idea, right? But anyway, and maybe it would give the people a reason to take French past the age of 15 when you can drop it, other than the fact that Madame Dixon had freakishly large breasts, right? So anyway, we had this French day. I was like 14, 15, we were going to take our options. And I was in Madame Dixon's class. And it wasn't too bad, at least I had a nice view. I was bored, I didn't know much French. And I sat next to this kid, and as he kept reminding me again and again and again, you know, he should have been in learning support or special education, whatever you say it, they'd made a mistake, right? So he kept complaining about this. He said, oh, I shouldn't be here. I should be in learning support doing whatever they like, learning the alphabet or whatever they do there. And he kept complaining. I got bored, I was tuning out. And eventually, my glasses dripped down onto my nose. And I got bored. I was looking for anything to do at this point. And I was trying to get them back onto my face. But I was really like getting into it, and I had nothing to do. And I was like, and I was trying to flip them back up, okay? And then eventually, clearly Madame Dixon had been told there was a child in her class that needed to be in learning support. And here I am, flailing around, okay? And then she leans over to me. I'm sat down in my chair here. She leans over to me. Her freakishly large breasts resting on my 14-year-old pubescent head, okay? And she's going, okay, let's just draw a picture, okay? And I'm just staring up like like God has smiled upon me, going, oui, madame. Now I just spent the next, 3 to 4 hours drawing like fucking snails and shit like that, having a whale of a time. This poor kid that should be in learning support is having to learn like 50 vocab phrases about the Parisian metro system and all that bullshit. But that's my exposure to French culture, basically. Now, here at IPC, it's great that you get to mix, because I'm coming out of this small bubble in England and I'm coming to IPC, you mix with these cultures. And something like African studies here is fantastic, because despite there's no African students, you can still, I thought it'd be great to take African studies and I could bust some of my stereotypes about that shithole. So I take African studies and I'm really looking forward to it, and I learned that they're not different from you and I. We think of Africa as a completely different place. When you really learn about the individual cultures and practices, you realize they're kind of just the same. For example, the Zulu tribe in South Africa, they have a ceremony where they all get together, all like the younger people of the village. They dress up in these fancy costumes that they've made, and they dance together in these costumes to celebrate their virginity. And I realized, that's very much like something we have in the West. It's called Comic-Con. But another way that we're exposed to all these different cultures in IPC is being randomly assigned a roommate, or in my case, multiple different roommates. And eventually I ended up Lorenzo, and God bless Lorenzo, I love him to death. But there's one thing about Lorenzo that I learned very, very quickly. And without fail, every single morning, day or night, whatever happens, okay? Whether we have breakfast, whether we have washing up, whether we have morning fellowship, whether we have a lesson or a fire drill, he will wake up at 11 a.m. without fail, right? But that doesn't stop this man from setting about 8 different alarms from 7 through to 7:30. Every single morning without fail, 7 will roll around on the clock. He'll just sleep right through it. It will fade out. 6 minutes later, without fail. Again and again and again. And eventually, it's been like a week of this shit, and I had finally plucked up the courage to talk to him. And I'm going to him, I'm like, Lorenzo, I appreciate what you're trying to do, and you're trying to keep a schedule and everything, but, it's really kind of fucking with me just a little bit, okay? So if you could change the 8 alarms that you completely sleep through, I'd appreciate that, okay? And he goes like, oh, yeah, no, I don't know what you mean when you say 8 alarms. Like, I only said 2, I just hit the fucking snooze. I'm like, you wake up and you hit the snooze, and you've been doing this for a week? What the fuck? And he goes like, no, you're right, I'm sorry, I'll change it. And I was like, you'll change it? He goes, yes, you're right, I'm sorry, I'll change it. I go, okay, thank you. So, we go to bed that night. He goes, good night, Tom. And I go, Redquescati pace, Lorenzo, good night. And 7 o'clock rolls around the next morning. Yea, behold. I'm like, what the fuck, Lorenzo? You said you'd change it. And he goes, I did, I changed the fucking sound. Thank you very much.